Hey there, I'm Lee Ullman here with some big news from the National Young Farmers Coalition. We're partnering with Heritage Radio Network on a special season of The Farm Report. It's all about what's happening with the Farm Bill and how it impacts farmers and eaters.
I am growing diversified vegetables on land that's been in our family for 150 years.
And so with the pandemic, gentrification, property values going up, we had to sell the land and we lost it.
Join us as we uncover the untold stories behind this massive piece of legislation that shapes how we grow our food, what we eat, and so much more.
The problems we have had, those are things that come from earlier Farm Bill and USDA policy, right? Like Earl Butts, get big or get out.
You know, it's my responsibility to know not only what I'm eating, but then like how that all came to be. And realize like, wow, like this piece of legislation, all this money, like it's technically something that I support as a taxpayer.
While Congress debates the next Farm Bill, this is not just an invitation to listen. It's a call to action. Be part of the conversation. Subscribe to the Farm Report on Heritage Radio Network, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Today's program was brought to you by Emmy Cheese, specialty cheese from Switzerland made with heart and passion. For more information, visit emmyusa.com.
Meat and Three is Heritage Radio Network's weekly food news roundup. This week on Meat and Three, we're bringing you highlights from Feast Portland, like our chat with the one and only Andrew Zimmern.
I'm super excited to be here because for people who do what I do for a living, we do tons of desk side chats and podcasts and interviews and stuff like that. And you circle the handful of ones in a year where you get to talk with people that you're really excited about talking with. So this is awesome.
We picked up on some recurring themes while talking to our impressive roster of guests, including the current state of Portland's food scene, personal identity, and, believe it or not, the influence of great chefs' grandmothers.
Mima never touched a drop of booze in her life and now has a distillery named after her. But I grew up in her garden and just really, she taught me all good things come from scratch and women can be anyone they want to be.
So tune in for this week's extra special episode. Subscribe to Meat and Three wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, and welcome to the food scene on heritageradionetwork.org. I'm your host, Michael Harlan Turkel. Having a very civilized day here today with Eduard Frauneder, better known as, is it Eddie or Edie?
It's Eddie.
Eddie and the Wolf is a wonderful restaurant in New York City's Alphabet City, kind of East Village area. And you own a few more, which are all Austrian or Viennese themed, because you are an Austrian man, born and raised in Vienna, which I've been to before, and it's a fascinating city because of how preserved it is. You know, it went through a couple world wars, but it was untouched, and around the Ringstrasse, there's so much culture and history, and it has this long lineage and legacy, but it doesn't feel old and stodgy. It feels like new and really inviting in some crazy, crazy way. Do you feel about Vienna in that same fashion?
I mean, I am from Vienna. I grew up there, and I moved to the US when I was 21. So, like, I think my formative years, being young at least for American standards, was in Vienna. And I do agree with you. Vienna feels a little bit timeless because it's also it's a grand city. It used to be the capital of of 2/3 of Europe, half of Europe, 26 nations and languages combined in the Habsburg Empire. So, and this city was by design for a way bigger population than what it is today. And hence the grandeur of the Ringstrasse and the buildings, the history those walls have seen, and the entire footprint of the city as well. And then, because you mentioned Austrian cuisine, it's also one of the few city-based cuisines in the world. Because you have the French cuisine, you have Italian cuisine. Yes, there's sub-branches to to it. You've got the Provence in southern France, etc. But like I think there's more the Viennese cuisine than the actual Austrian.
Yeah, let's define that, because I've been to Austria and I've been down to Styria, into Graz, and
Beautiful.
It's stunning, and they're made in orchard fruits and thermal baths, but it feels like a completely different place than Vienna does. But what would you constitute as Austrian cuisine? What are the classic dishes, and does any of that trickle down into Vienna, or is that something of its own?
I mean, I think Austrian cuisine is defined by the Viennese cuisine itself. It's not just the capital, but it's also like it was always the area where the aristocracy could afford to play with food. Let's be frank. Like, until I love history of food, until like the 19th century, even like the very first part of the 20th century. What was the driving force of any culinary development? That was the courts. That was the courts of Europe, which basically brought poor man's ingredients / food, and then exchange it within one another. Like they would change chefs. They would like bring ingredients from other countries, spices, salts, coffee, this, that, chocolate, and so on and so forth. So Vienna was always the melting pot for Austria, and the Viennese cuisine was always equal to the Austrian cuisine, and there basically the main dishes developed, meaning the Wiener Schnitzel, which was landed from the La Cotoletta alla Milanese from the court of Milan. But then, of course, refined, bone taken off, because it's not a cotoletta, it's just a piece, not just, but it's only a piece of meat pounded. So you do not have the bone on it. And then on the other hand, through the reduction of the bone and just the meat, you can like really define it through cooking it perfectly, like that puffiness, what you want in the Wiener Schnitzel, that being one dish. Then the next dish would be the goulash, which was lent by the Hungarians, and then defined through like the usage of the veal cheek and like lesser elegant cuts of the beef. But we do have to use all parts, because nose to tail cooking is nothing new. Nose to tail cooking has been around as long as we have been breeding animals, and so it always amuses me like how in what 360-degree cycle those trends go. Same with like seasonal cooking. I mean, there was only seasonal cooking until, 60, 70 years ago? So like when did we lose that? And then we have to re-find it.
You know what's fascinating about Vienna is that there are some aspects that aren't seasonal at all. And one specific thing is the coffee house culture there. And in the coffee houses, it's egalitarian. It's not aristocratic. I feel like anyone could go there, enjoy a Wiener Melange, like the cappuccino, have a slice of Sacher Torte, and there is always that on the menu. So it isn't a seasonal thing. It's an expected and very comforting thing that it's always there.
The coffee shop itself has not only a very egalitarian spirit. I mean, the coffee shop most likely and most importantly had a sheltering function as well, because people did not have heat. So they had to go to the coffee shop basically to enjoy a warm room for numerous hours a day, and whole revolutions were planned in coffee shops.
Literally body heat.
Body heat, but also they had a chimney most of the time. So body heat plus the heat of the kitchen plus the chimney, because people did not have always